Chapter 5, Due Process, Student Discipline, Athletics, and Title IX by Kristen Herring, EDLD 5623, Developing Leaders, under Dr. Kimberly Wilkerson. Leadership Perspectives. Standard 2, educational leaders have high morals and seek to provide a fair environment that encompasses respect for cultural awareness. This is the PSEL standard that aligns with this chapter, and I found this in PSEL 2015. It is the student's responsibility to align their behaviors with the school rules. The student also has rights, though. They have the right to have reasonable school rules and equitable and moral treatment, Stater 2013. Students' rights in well-ordered school. Low disorder schools have principals and teachers that support the school due to these characteristics. They share responsibilities, offer support, they are team players and equitable, they have a secure environment, and a desire for high student achievement. In these schools, you find that the rights of students are made equitable to all. Educational leaders can expect students to know and comprehend the student expectations. Educational leaders can expect students to follow all the rules so long as they are reasonable. Stakeholders can hold educational leaders accountable for equity and appropriate expectations, and stakeholders can share in the development of school culture and ownership of the division of rights and responsibilities, Stater 2013. Due process in the 5th Amendment and 14th Amendment. Property interest means that education is right for all in a public school. It's the one that makes it right for everyone. Liberty interest is a protection from harm to a person's name that can impact a person's future opportunities for life. Due process requires fair and adequate procedures in decision making and must be provided according to the 5th and 14th Amendments. In procedural due process, an administrator provides notice of the issue and a right to a hearing to all the stakeholders for that student. For a suspension, students can be given a 1 to 10 day removal from school, and in order for that to happen, they have to be given due process. They are allowed the right to a quick hearing, and reversal of the suspension may be decided. Suspension may be immediate if a danger to others, and it is not required that they be read their Miranda rights, and teachers do not have to grade their missing work. For expulsions, hearings are required. The students and parents are required to have clear written description of the expulsion, a right to a hearing with the legal advocate present if desired. The student can provide defense and question everyone involved. The decision doesn't have to be without a reasonable doubt. It can be based on preponderance of evidence, Stater 2013. Substantive due process analyzes the process for equitable measures taken by the educational leaders. And there are 4 questions that must all be answered yes when substantive due process occurs. 1, does the rule or policy provide adequate notice of what conduct is prohibited? And is it comprehensible by the students? Are they able to understand what the rule was? Number 2, does the rule or policy serve a legitimate educational purpose? Is it there and in place to protect the quality education and the students? Number 3, is the consequence reasonably or rationally connected to the offense? With good reason, does the consequence match the offense? Number 4, is the rule or policy applied equitably? Everyone involved is given similar discipline with similar effects, Stater 2013. Corporal punishment and excessive force. Corporal punishment, inflicting punishment that brings pain or restraint to an individual. This is not legal in all states. States either have guidelines in place for corporal punishment or the state requires the districts to create them. Educational leaders are protected when using corporal punishment. There's shocks of conscience, which means intent of injury or no intent to injure. And these are the 4 questions that are asked under shocks of conscience. 1. Was there pedagogical justification for inflicting the pain? 2. Was the pain excessive? 3. Was there effort to restore order or cause of injury? And 4. Was the student injured? Stater, 2013. Student suspension or expulsion for off-campus behavior. Some states have laws that give districts the right to refuse to accept a student who have been convicted of a felony. There are states that have laws that allow long-term dismissal or refusal to accept students who have committed a serious crime, whether they've been charged or convicted. Districts must be able to explain how accepting the student will be a disruption of the learning process before they do not accept them. There are key guidelines that educational leaders are to follow. They have to follow the state laws. They have to make sure stakeholders have been well informed about the consequences of the behavior before going off campus. They have to identify the reason you think the school may be disrupted. They have to collect evidence to support their decision and adhere to IDEA and 504 laws. Stater, 2013. Extracurricular activities and Title IX. Title IX says that we cannot deny any educational program due to gender. And this is for admission, recruitment, courses, harassment based on gender, physical education requirements, educational programs and activities, employment, and equal athletic opportunities for all. Title IX tests for equity in colleges. Equal number of students are able to participate in all of the activities. Efforts are being made to grow programs where one gender is underrepresented, and accommodations are being made to assist genders who are struggling in programs. Stater, 2013. Title IX and pregnancy. Schools cannot ban students from access due to pregnancy, treatment, childbirth, abortion, or postpartum delivery. The guidelines that are in place for educational leaders to follow concerning these students include that these students cannot be denied any access to an educational program. They can be required to submit a doctor's note stating a student is capable of participating in an activity, but it must be required of all students with physical and emotional issues, not just those that are in this condition. Number 3, they must be treated with the same temporary disability as others, and they must be allowed medical leave or of absence if it's justified by a doctor. Stater, 2013.